All right, thanks, Elliot. Okay, so let's take a peek at what we're up to today. This is our meeting trail map. Together, we'll walk through the origins and iterations of the park to date. We'll chat about the City of Tucson's Housing First approach. We'll review the scope of this current phase of bike park improvements. We'll explore site opportunities and challenges with our design consultant, Nat. And then we'll review possible trails and features. And then most importantly, we'd really love to hear from you. So without further ado, I'll introduce tonight's presenters. We're really fortunate to have from the city, Brandy Champion joining us from Housing and Community Development. She's our Community Safety Program Director. We also have Justin Hamilton, who's our Homeless Protocol Outreach Supervisor and Encampment Coordinator, also with Housing and Community Development. We have Lieutenant Brian Corcoran, who is joining us from Tucson Police Department, and then Nat Lopez representing Hillride on the design team. Kevin couldn't make it, he's had jury duty, but he'll be part of the project team moving forward. All right, so project location for folks that aren't as familiar with the 100-acre wood bike park. It's located at 2801 South Alvernon Way near the entrance to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. The site is bounded on the west by Alvernon Way, on the south by Golf Links Road, on the east by Swan Road, and on the north by the Roberts neighborhood. A short distance to the east are Freedom Park Center and the Todd M. Harris Sports Complex, which are accessible via the Aviation Bikeway and will serve as the primary points of access, staging, and amenities for the bike park for this phase of improvements. And then a little bit of project background. The 100-acre wood bike park represents 20 plus years of dreaming, planning, and collaboration among the city of Tucson, Pima County, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Arizona State Parks, and the bike community, including the Sonoran Desert Mountain bicyclists, the Trek Foundation, and countless community members who have invested in the vision of an accessible urban bike park that provides safe but challenging trails and features for riders of all ages and skill levels. The idea started to take shape in the community and in the city and county's long-range planning documents in the 90s and 2010s, and really gained traction in 2014 with the launch of a master planning process facilitated by McGann and Associates and supported by funding from Banner and University of Arizona Medical Center, Carondelet Health Network, and Tucson Medical Center. In 2016, the United States Air Force and the Planning Department of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base worked with the city to set up a lease agreement to use the site to develop a community bike park. In 2018, the 100-acre wood community bicycle park master plan was adopted, setting a solid framework for future improvements. That same year, Sonoran Desert Mountain bicyclists and Hillride advanced additional planning followed by on-the-ground improvements in 2019. The new trail enhancements and features quickly gained popularity, but their growing use came to a halt in early 2020 when the COVID pandemic hit. People were no longer out and about on site, and the lack of activity combined with increasing numbers of people experiencing homelessness and settling at the site led to the eventual closure of the bike park. Recognizing the ongoing need to provide accessible opportunities for folks to recreate and get outside within the city, community partners have reinvested in the future of the bike park, and in 2024, new grant funding and foundation support was secured to reactivate the site with new trails and features and reopen it for the community. We know that doing so will require a compassionate, whole-person approach to decommission the site and continue to provide park inhabitants with the opportunities, resources, and support needed to transition into stable housing. So to walk us through the City of Tucson's Housing First approach at 100-acre wood bike park, I'm going to turn it over to Brandy and Justin.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Housing First. Housing First is aimed at addressing unsheltered homelessness, supporting individuals through comprehensive services. We have a wide range of initiatives such as street outreach, emergency shelter, housing navigation, and supportive housing programs. We also provide housing case management services for people that are once they're in their homes. The program works to meet people where they're at, including in the homeless encampments. So The homeless protocol lives within community safety as well as housing first, and that's the reason for our involvement, is because we're going out and we're providing outreach. We're trying to get people into emergency shelter and start their journey into housing, collecting important documents that you need to go into that housing, and then maintaining that housing through the wraparound services that people so desperately need. Our housing focused services includes resources such as employment opportunities, job training, access to mainstream benefits, healthcare, food assistance, daily living supports. People sometimes, after living in homeless encampments or being outside, or not having stable housing, really need these supports to learn how to live inside again. And that's some of the things that our programs do, fostering connections to the resources and getting people what they need where they are, building the self-reliance that people need to improve their quality of life. We are geared, we're teamed up with the homeless protocol. Justin, as I said, who will present next, is on our team. And he has some encampment assessors that work really hard at these encampments, getting them resolved and decommissioned, along with other departments throughout our city. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin and let him talk a little bit about homeless protocol.
Thanks, Randy. We have no slide for homeless protocol. Hang on 1 second. So in February 16th, 2024, this year, we identified the Tier 3 encampments that were out at 100 acres and decommissioned those encampments. And then on May 14th, 2024, Zone 1 was decommissioned and cleaned. And then on November 15th, 2024, we went out and took a census of the folks that were out living in the Zone 2, where they were identified. And then so 20 hours, or 20 days, 3 hours apiece, we did this in 2024, and we were able to assist 20 individuals each time. And that outreach approach will be continued on until 100 acres is completely empty. Our goal in 2025 is to be continuous outreach in 100 acres. It starts January 22nd. We'll continue once a week until all zones are unoccupied. Community outreach with 30 members: Old Pueblo Community Services, City of Tucson, Community Bridges, Hope, Primavera, Cornerstone, Pima County Outreach, and Pima County Health Department. We should be on target to decommission Zone 2, hopefully by the end of February.
All right, thank you, Brandy and Justin. I'll continue and just talk a little bit about the project scope. So the community has about $340,000 to work with for this phase of improvements, thanks to very generous support from Arizona State Parks Heritage Fund, SDMB, and the Trek Foundation. And this particular kind of pot of funding can be used for design development of trails, trail features, and new signage, decommissioning and site cleanup, and construction. This phase of improvements will not include the development of restrooms, parking, or water infrastructure on site. And the 100 Acre Wood Bike Park has and will continue to be a community-supported partnership, with the U.S. Air Force providing the land and organizations and agencies like SDMB, the Trek Foundation, and Arizona State Parks leveraging the resources and expertise on the ground to advance the project. The bike park will be maintained through a unique partnership between the City of Tucson's Parks and Recreation Department and Sonoran Desert Mountain Bicyclists. The city will take the lead on things like site tidy up, debris removal, graffiti abatement, protection of the natural environment, and enforcement of all parks and recreation codes and policies. And SDMB will maintain all of the bike trails and associated features. So now I'm going to turn it over to Nat, who has had some travel plans change. He's our consultant coming in from the Bay Area. So I'll turn it over to Nat to set us up for the next phase.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. Can you hear me okay for a mic check?
Yep, yes. We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sharing my screen now, and I'm going full screen. Can you see the
Yep. Yeah, when you go full screen, you're good to go.
Okay. I'd like to apologize to everyone. My travel got a little bit rearranged, and I have a limited time here. I wanted to do a quick introduction. My name's Nat Lopes. I've been building bike parks and trails for over 20 years now. I've had the opportunity to ride in all 50 states, 9 Canadian provinces, 15 different countries around the world, helping communities build sustainable trails and bike parks. I've had the opportunity to ride with some incredible people like Stacy here from Whistler Mountain Bike Park. And I've had the opportunity to see some absolutely incredible natural environments, ecosystems, and especially and dear to my heart, the Sonoran Desert in Tucson. My background is working with the International Mountain Bicycling Association, which I did for 3 years as one of the Subaru and Trail Care crews. I've also done extensive work with the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, Trips for Kids, Outdoor Alliance. I'm a member of the Professional Trail Builders Association, the National Recreation and Parks Association. And the first time I came to Tucson was actually with IMBA as a pilot project for the National Park Service and Saguaro National Park to get some of the first access going. At that time, I also had a chance to go to the 50-year trail and help out with some trail work out there. And that was my first time visiting the Fantasy Island Trail, which really left a mark on me as being symbolic of really open desert flow. I did also have a chance to visit Coronado Middle School, which my understanding was built by the same folks that did Fantasy Island, and it was an amazing little Fantasy Island in miniature. My company, with all that experience, is dedicated to realizing the potential of the global mountain biking movement as a force for economic development, environmental conservation, and the promotion of healthy, active communities. As I mentioned, I've been in all 50 states, 9 Canadian provinces, working with IMBA, since gone to 15 different countries, working partly with USAID. I've built, designed, and been involved in the development of over 60 bike parks, 75 trail projects, such as Lake Cunningham Bike Park in San Jose, California, the Griffin Bike Park, which was the NRPA National Project of the Year in 2017 in Terre Haute, Indiana, and also the North Valley Bike Park in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where getting feedback from the community, building the park out so that everyone can have a place to ride. And yeah, a little bit of background in terms of my involvement with 100 Acre Woods. As Stephanie mentioned, the original master plan was developed by McGann and Associates with IMBA. One of the remarkable pieces of that concept was an extensive parking lot and really kind of formalized bike park area with ramadas and really kind of big ticket items. And after that original design development, as Stephanie also mentioned, I started working with SDMB to figure out with limited resources exactly how we could develop a park and get some trails going at 100 Acre Woods. During that process, we worked with the police department, the parks department. We worked with SDMB and the local community, did a lot of site cleanup to get the site ready. And we discovered that there were quite a bit of permitting complexity. There's a lot of utility infrastructure on site, floodplain, and it took a lot of work to figure out those constraints, which you can see here. And each one of the key zones had constraints, which we had to work through. After we figured out what the constraints were, we did extensive mapping of the site in order to figure out kind of exactly how we could get a trail plan that worked. And that process was really oriented around trying to get an overall trail system that you could essentially enter the park and ride every single trail at the park before leaving. And this was the plan that we came up with, which has about 10 miles of trail, cross country, skill trail, flow trail, a wide variety in each one of the 3 main zones. With SDMB, we did have a groundbreaking. We had made some great partnerships, and I couldn't be more proud of the hard work that they did to get the project up and running. And some of the work that was done is still there. And I'm very excited to get back out to the site tomorrow to see what the conditions are and to get feedback from the community to figure out how we can make this project successful in the long run. Stephanie gave a little bit of background about the site context of the project. And basically where the project lies in terms of Tucson overall. She mentioned that 100 Acre Wood is on the left side of this graphic here. Freedom Park and Todd M. Harris Park are on the right side. The green line is the Aviation Bikeway, and this is 2 miles of the Aviation Bikeway. 1 mile is within 100 Acre Wood. And in order to get to the restrooms and parking facilities at Freedom and Todd Harris, it's 3/4 of a mile to Freedom Park and 1 mile to Todd Harris Park, for a little bit of context. And the park basically breaks down into 3 zones, zone 1, 2, 3. And I'll kind of flip through this pretty quickly here. And the way the park is accessed is on the Aviation Bike Path here at the south end and here at the Swan Road entrance. In terms of the overall site, like I said, I haven't been out to the project since COVID, so I'm excited to see how things look. But some of the real big benefits or big strengths of the project is really, it's a beautiful site. This little concept video was put together to kind of get a hint at the natural beauty of the site, with huge sweeping views of the mountains in the background, kind of some of the open flowing opportunity for the trails that could go out there. And again, the original kind of concept that we had come up with was to have 10 miles of trail, which basically once you entered and accessed the trail system, you could ride every single mile of trail that was out there. It is a beautiful site. The natural characteristics of the site are a huge strength and something that should really be leveraged. All those photos were from the site. Another key element really is its Aviation Bikeway, which provides access to the site. And someday it'd be great to have, in a similar way that the Tucson Loop and Aviation Bikeway, which connects into Tucson Loop, connects into all these great riding areas, that 100 Acre Wood is really established as one of those key riding areas in the Tucson area. Another big strength is the Davis Monthan Air Force Base and the operations that are going on overhead, which are extremely dramatic. Some of the challenges on the site: public access and parking. There isn't any currently, and probably not in this round of development. The utility infrastructure is extensive, and the law enforcement access is pretty challenging over the site. Here's a little bit of the utility infrastructure. Some of the negative uses out there, unauthorized uses, motorbikes, electric vehicles. There's obviously been a lot of vandalism and site trash out there that needs to be cleaned up. Some of the opportunities, however, there is the opportunity to develop really kind of a maximum is 10 miles of trail, but there's opportunities for kids trails, XC trails, skill trails, flow trails, dirt jump trails, pump track area, opportunity for outdoor education, develop a NICA training ground. And NICA, as I mentioned, is a key piece here, I think, of the puzzle, and the opportunity to have a easily accessible practice area that would really leverage some of the resources that they have for their coaches' training manuals. It would be a really interesting opportunity. Also, it is a beautiful site with all of the native species of cactus and vegetation, flora, fauna. I think there's a great opportunity to have some outdoor education kind of programming along with the project. And then kind of rounding out their threats, the unauthorized users, the camping, dirt bikes, all of those kind of key pieces are still existing out there, unfortunately. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break check here to just double check my overall skew. I've been going extremely fast to try to get through all of these pieces. And this is kind of the fun stuff here. And what I'm going to leave Stephanie with here in just a moment. But basically, the goal of this meeting was to provide some context and background for the project, and to really try to introduce everyone and start the feedback process. So there's a survey which we have set up, which we want to gain information. And over the next couple days, there'll be some community stakeholder meetings where we're really looking forward to getting some feedback so we can develop a solid plan, engage the volunteer community, get a proper work scope for a professional builder to come out to ultimately build a park that suits the community and gets everyone what they want in terms of riding. That could be kids trails from even the littlest kids. That's actually my son Dimitri right there. Kids trails really, organized to be, shorter duration up front and center so that parents can easily monitor them. Cross country trails that provide extended riding experience and that mileage. Again, the site is 100 acres. And if we really dialed the whole thing in, the opportunity to have 10 miles of trail out there would really be pretty incredible and really, I think, turn it into a core riding destination. The cross country trails are going to be a key piece of that with some juicy berm turns in there. There's opportunity for both kind of a jump park as well as jump trails being integrated out there into the site. And jump trails integrated also with pumps to really create interesting, unique experience, capturing that desert flow. Probably on the higher end, on the beginner and intermediate levels, really rollable tabletop jumps will be the most fitting. But for the more advanced level riders, advanced and expert riders, there'll be opportunity to develop some bigger, even gap style jumps for some real vert jumping. And there'll probably be an opportunity to integrate some prefab jump ramps and other features as well. As I mentioned, kind of smushing all that together into extended pump trail, pump track, pump and jump flow, I think is really what the site lends itself to, and what would kind of be the best mix between a cross-country kind of pedal oriented, moving into a flowy, pumpy oriented mix. There'll be an opportunity also, should you guys want to do it, put some wall rides in, slant wall rides, curved wall rides, Talladega turns, some bigger features if we really kind of capitalize and use the little bit of elevation in zone 3, might be able to put some bigger free ride features there, like whale tails. In terms of the skills trails, I think this is really going to be a key piece to be able to create interest, to be able to create a NICA training ground where folks can really focus on specific features, beginner features, balance features, so everyone can kind of ramp up and get an initial feel. And then moving into more advanced features, everything from teeter totters to, this is one of my favorite features here, a taper, which basically tapers down to a 2x4 on end. If you have it low to the ground where there's not much consequence, it's a great way to really program in really high level of difficulty with a really low level of consequence, so that even beginner, intermediate level riders will be riding off the end of 2x4 after not too many tries. Big fan also of diamonds, where your front wheel travels a different path than your rear wheel. And also the DNA, the helix, again, similar to the diamond, but where your wheels are actually traveling in different paths is a really cool type of skill feature. More advanced skill features, log rides of all kinds, shapes, sizes. And let's see if we can get this to click here.
Definitely super challenging.
There we go. So even more advanced level log ride features with elevated skinnies, extended technical to really take a high level of concentration, skill. There's basically a great opportunity to have, literally lots and lots of skill features out there. Really exciting aspect of it. Opportunity to incorporate rocks. Stephanie has set up the site already for donations, and has a list of donated materials that we're looking for in terms of big landscape rocks and boulders, fill dirt, all of the different materials that we could use to build a bike park. And any material that gets donated will offset, cost of purchase as we get further down the road. from rock gardens to rock rides to integrated rock features, rock drops, all kinds of different pieces that we can do with those. There's also opportunity to incorporate some drop features in the zone 3, again, where we have the little bit of elevation to work with, both safety drops as well as flat gap drops. So there's really a wide range of opportunities out there. And then more creative, kind of custom made free ride features as well. Really kind of the sky's the limit. Or I should say the amount of momentum that we can generate either through pedaling or intermittent start hills or pump hills, or utilize the little bit of elevation that's on site to really maximize it into interesting free ride opportunities. And then finally, not everyone's into trials. In fact, only about 1% of riders are trials riders. But I had a really fun project where we installed an entire World Cup trials course with multiple features throughout the park. And it's always a fun thing to get a big mix of riders when you have dirt jumpers, pump trackers, cross-country riders, and observed trials folks all together. It's a really fun time. So I breezed through that faster than I was anticipating. But the luggage truck ran into the gantry to the airplane, which afforded me additional time, which I'm very thankful for.
Thanks, luggage truck, for helping us out. Thanks, Nat. That was great. Thank you for the speed through it. And we wish you, I know you might have to jump off at any time. So thank you and safe travels. And we'll see you tomorrow, too. Okay, I'll jump back in here. Before we go into the question answer section, I'll just go through a little bit more on the timeline for the project and the next steps. So today marks our first public meeting for this phase of improvements. And then we'll have an online survey circulating that Nat mentioned. We'll get to it. There's a little QR code, and we'll be collecting your thoughts from now until February 20th. We will then synthesize your feedback and use it to guide the development of a refined design to share back with the community for input this spring. And then we'll use that feedback to finalize construction documents that we'll use to take the project out to bid. Decommissioning is kind of underway with all of those outreach touch points that are going on right now, but that will continue through this summer. And then we forecast that construction will be underway this fall and winter. And that's kind of where we're headed. So I think now we'll move into the question and answer section. We have Elliot, who's going to kind of help us moderate and sort through who the best folks would be to respond to questions. But if anything pops up, if you think of something later, here's our contact information. So I have myself listed as well as Brandy. You can reach out to us via email. You can give us a call. And let us know if you have any thoughts, any concerns that you want to share with us, or just questions that you might have. And then here at the bottom of the page is that QR survey, so you can use your phone to go and take that survey right now before you forget. We'd love to hear from you and know your feedback. That'll take you to the project webpage, which is also the location where we'll have updates about the project. We'll post the results from the survey there after it closes. And that's generally your best place to go for information related to the project and the next steps. So with that, yeah, let's move into the question and answer session.
So the first two questions were asked right after Justin and Brandy were speaking. So the zones for that different than the other zones that you saw in the master plan. And Stephanie can speak to that a little bit more too.
Yeah, I think Nat quickly went through the zones. There are a few different zones for the bike park itself, and those are a little bit different than the zones that Justin and Brandy were speaking to. So I might turn it over to Justin to kind of walk through. Nat's still here. If he has time, he can kind of address the zones. Otherwise, if you email me, I can kind of follow up, and maybe we can post a map to the project webpage as well that kind of delineates like the zones for the bike park, and then how those overlay or intersect with the zones for the decommissioning. But Justin, do you want to jump in, or Brandy?
Yeah, the zones for the bike park and the zones that we have do not align. Um, our zones are completely different. Our zone one was inside of the canopy, inside of the wash area where the base was doing sampling. So our zones are completely different from theirs. I mean, I could get you something probably tomorrow that would show it. I can send it to you.
That sounds great. Yeah, we can work on getting something to help kind of clarify because we've had a couple of questions about that. So
Yeah,
good
for sure.
question.
Can you talk about the tiers, Justin, or do you want me to explain the tier system?
Well, the tier system, we have three tiers: tier one, tier two, tier three. A tier one camp is an abandoned camp, which is just cleanup needed. A tier two camp is a camp that is in a location where it can remain and the people are able to govern themselves. And a tier three camp is a camp that has to be removed, usually within 72 hours or sometimes immediately, depending on the location.
And I just want to add that even tier two camps don't remain that forever. It's a matter of outreaching them consistently and getting them into housing because um, living outdoors in a camp is no way to, it's inhumane. So we want to get everybody inside.
All right, Elliot, what else do we have?
All right, the next one I got in there is asking about the condition of the aviation bikeway and its degraded condition and how this project will increase traffic, and if there's planned pavement improvement for the bikeway along 100 Acre.
I think with this current phase of funding, it's not allocated for the aviation bikeway itself, but that's certainly something to take into consideration for future phases of funding as something that's kind of like what the person asking the question is saying, that if there are more people coming to the site, it'll certainly be something that we want to keep in good condition. So that's a good comment to keep in there and put it in the survey too, just so we can make note of that as well.
All right, the next one is there a plan to eventually have facilities, water, and restrooms on site?
Part of the original master plan did have restrooms, or kind of thinking about where they could be located. Right now, we don't have a plan to do so. It's kind of challenging to bring water to the site because there isn't water there already. So it'll be kind of an intensive infrastructure improvement that we just don't have the funding to advance at this time. But you know, ideally, if we had all the funding, we would love to do that. But for now, the Freedom Park Center will kind of be the main base for that, with restrooms and water and parking and amenities. And there's going to be a new parking lot at Todd M. Harris that's right by the aviation bikeway. So folks can park and hop right on the bikeway there as well in the future. Okay, what else, Elliot?
Will the park be open 24 hours?
The park will not be open 24 hours like our other parks. This one will be open, I think, from sunrise to sunset.
Next one is more of a statement, but asking about, says, tell me more about the care for the residents of 100 Acre Woods.
I think that might be a question for Brandy and Justin.
Yes. So that is Housing First and Community Safety's biggest task, right? We want to make sure that everybody gets the resource they need, the housing they need, and that's another reason that we've been doing this for some months now. Is that we want to make sure that everybody gets the services they need or they self-resolve, because some people have the ability to self-resolve, and they have. I think Justin can speak more to how he's noticed the reduction of residents in the encampment. And so just because nobody's asking them to leave, just because they know that that's coming and they're willing to go self-resolve or help us help them, in the sense that they're willing to come into shelter and start saving a little money, get going into their housing, or allowing us to find them a housing subsidy until they're self-reliant. You have anything to add there, Justin?
I do not. That was very well said, Brandy.
Okay.
All right. And the next question is, how confident are you that relocation will occur prior to construction, which I read is scheduled for autumn 2025?
I think that's another question for us. We're pretty confident. We've done this once before. Back in 2022, we had we had a larger encampment actually that was right up near the bike path, near the road. It was visible right up next to the street, just about. And that was very large. I would say that was about 60 different large encampments, and we got an 85% buy-in from clients to come inside, from people to come inside, and in our different shelters that we opened. And those people are still today receiving services from us. Most of those people have stayed on in their housing and have done well and are still receiving wraparound services. So I'm confident that we can get that done.
Thank you, Brandy. Along, those lines, the next question is, why can't the camp be relocated entirely for the time being? Seems like we have a lot of similar spaces in this area, so why do we need the camp to be exactly in a space that has been allocated for community use?
So we can't, so as I said, I think I said it once before, we don't believe that camping outside with no amenities is the way for, it's not humane, right? People need to be able to have running water, they need to have bathroom facilities that work, and we don't, we are not at a place in Tucson where we sanction encampments, so to speak. So we want to get people inside and we want to get them moved into a safe environment.
Thank you, Brandy. And the next question for Stephanie, is the plan to fully build out the whole park before it opens, and what is the estimate for that timing?
So the plan is not to fully build out all the features, mostly because we have limited funding for this phase. So we'll build as many trail improvements and as many features as we can, prioritizing the feedback we hear from the community about what things you would most like to see in terms of trails and features. And that's what we'll prioritize for this particular phase. It's a bit of an iterative process, so there are opportunities if we have volunteers or new donations or new grants that come into the project, then we'll have the opportunity to expand it, but we'll do as much as we can with that 340,000 that we have for this particular phase and open it after that.
All right, I got two questions along the same lines here is, who will be managing the homeless on an ongoing basis, and like what will we be doing differently this time around? So whether that's a question for Brandy or TPD.
I think it's a question for both. I think that homeless protocol, housing first, community safety work hand in hand with Tucson Police Department, Tucson Fire, all of our other emergency service providers. And so I think that it's a team effort. I think that we're one city, so we'll be monitoring that together. Justin is very familiar with TPD officers that are working this, our core officers, which is our community outreach and engagement officers. They are in touch with Justin daily. So we, have monthly policy meetings with Tucson Police, Fire, EGSD, our Environmental Services, Department, DTM, all of the internal city players that are part of these resolutions. So I have faith that we will monitor it and we will be able to, especially when you activate a space with other things, the outcome is that people don't tend to return there. When other people are enjoying the space and on their bicycles and the space is activated, people don't tend to want to continue going back there and having that space, living there, because there's people using that space for other things. So I think that this is the right way to resolve that encampment, is to activate the space with people that are going to use it in the community for a positive thing, families, children, bikers, other people that might want to frequent this new development.
And then I'll jump in there too. So we're working really closely with folks, including TPD, as we move in, and our operations team, as we move through kind of the process and figure out what new trails and features are going to be added. We'll work together as a city to come up with an operations and maintenance plan that kind of builds off of things already in the encampment protocol, but from the park side. And one of the things that Parks has is a new dashboard that allows for park supervisors to receive reports on encampments and then address the concerns as needed and have outreach and cleanup and remediation posted and completed in a more expedient time frame. So that's definitely a new development. And I know, talking to our operations folks, that has helped just speed up the response time for those as well.
All right. I got the next question. To reach Freedom Park, restrooms, parking must ride Aviation Bikeway. It is also currently lined with encampments. Will these also be removed?
Actually, those encampments that are over there, yes, they're actually cited. I think they're being removed next week.
All right, thank you, Justin. I've got two more similar questions. Is there any way to have it open after sunset in the summer? And there was another question here about hours. Yes, with the increase in how long and hot summers are growing, is there any opportunity to take this into account in the design, including maybe some shift in hours?
Yes, definitely. And I think that's a creative way to kind of shift as we have more daylight hours. We can move the hours a little bit. I think there's some flexibility there. So, yep, I definitely think we can consider that. And if you can write that in the survey, that will help record it. I'll make a note of it here. But yeah, if you can add that to your survey response, that would be awesome.
Next question. What are the plans for this park to include or exclude the e-bike community?
I think Stephanie's camera froze. So I'll jump in here while her connection reestablishes. Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Chan with the Parks and Recreation Department. Stephanie's back, so she will answer the question for you.
I'm sorry, I missed the second question.
Yes. Okay. You're back, Stephanie?
I'm back. Sorry. Yeah,
All right.
I got kicked out for a second.
The question was, what are the plans for this park to include or exclude the e-bike community? Did we lose her again? Was it just me?
Yeah, we lost her again.
Yeah, we lost her again. All right, so then I'll continue on the response. So at this time, I believe the some e-bikes will be allowed in the area. I think that's something that we're still discussing on our end for how that kind of rules piece will lay out for this this bike park. So I would say if you are an e-bike user, please do let us know that that's your interest in using this facility as well. Please put it into the survey. And Stephanie looks like she's back again.
I'm back. I'm going to turn off my camera in case it's not, but I'll still be here.
All right. Next one. Last year, I saw on the news that encampments needed to be moved so that the Air Force could proceed with testing for chemicals. How is that being addressed for the park?
So we are in very close coordination with folks from Davis-Monthan about their PFAS remediation. So we meet with them and provide updates and coordinate with them to make sure that we are kind of taking their wells into consideration. and just making sure that they're part of the planning process and keeping us updated on any activities related to that.
Next question. What shelters are being used? Do the campers have access to wet shelters? I think that's a question for Brandy.
Yes. So wet shelters meaning where low barrier, is that what they mean? I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
know.
So if you're meaning low barrier, I would say yes, they do have access to low barrier shelters. We have many partners in the community that have low barrier shelter options. We also have an understanding with some of our men only shelters and women only shelters that are willing to take our clients, knowing that we'll come back for them when we have room in our more low barrier shelters. So they're willing to like loosen up a little bit and let us work with them directly. And we do have respite shelter at this time because of Operation Deep Freeze. So we expect that from now through the end of the GEM show, we'll slowly be increasing beds in our Operation Deep Freeze shelter just because of the cold weather. And we want to work with those folks that go into our Operation Deep Freeze in our respite shelter to get them housed as well. So yes, we do have shelter options.
Thank you, Brandy. Next question. Is there any number you can give regarding how many people are still residing at the 100-acre bike park?
I think that's a question for Justin. He can probably give an approximate.
So being out there today, I would have to take a guess that there's probably at least 10 people in zone 2, and there's probably up to I would say they're in the 30s over in zone 3. Because we had everybody out today, so I kind of had a look at about everybody that was over there in that last zone. And actually, it just looks more ominous than it really is. A lot of those tents are used for storage out there. So a lot, like one tent will have bikes, the other tent will have clothing in it. So, I mean, the optics really make it look a lot more ominous than it really is. So I would say if I had to take a number, be somewhere around about 40 some people in the entire encampment right now.
Thank you, Justin. Question about the survey here. I don't see a way to provide open feedback in the survey. Is there? And I just missed it.
Kirk, I just pulled it up to see as well, and it looks like we don't have that question in there, so we're working right now to try to add that in. If you already took this survey and you didn't have a chance to share your open feedback, please email me. Send me an email and I'll include it in the responses that we get. So sorry about that. We're fixing it right now.
So I only have one question left here that we have already pretty thoroughly answered, so I will publish that, but that is all the questions I see at this moment.
Thanks, Elliot. It looks to me like Stephanie's screen froze again. So I'll kind of move towards wrapping us up and thanking everyone for being here. I also want to thank Ward 4 and the rest of Mayor and Council for their continued support for this project and bringing 100-acre Wood Bike Park to life. And please, there's the contact information for the project manager, Stephanie, as well as the Housing First Program Director, Brandy Champion, up here on this slide. Any questions may be directed to either of them. And then the project webpage with the survey that's getting updated now to include that open comment period portion. So Stephanie, are you back on?
I am back.
Okay.
Sorry for jumping on and off. I just heard back from our public information officer and she just added that. So if you're hopping in now to take the survey, you should have a free response option as well. But yeah, just echoing, thank you everyone for taking the time to chat with us and for sharing your feedback. We'd really love to hear from you so you can help shape your experience at the bike park. We really appreciate all of you. Thank you to Ward 4, Mayor and Council, and everyone who has put so much thought and effort and heart into advancing this project and caring for the folks that are there on the site as well. Really appreciate everybody's work. Okay. Well, with that, thank you again, and please reach out if
Thank you.
you have anything else. Thank you so much, everybody, and take care.
Thank you.